All right, we are joined here today on Whalepool by Munib from Investin. Investin is a Solana project which allows people to create their own fund on chain where people can trustlessly invest in people's funds and uh, the fund manager gets a piece of the performance that's been done on it, and the investors can pull off their funds from the fund that they've invested in whenever they want. Basically, decentralized hedge fund possible for anybody on Solana. So, welcome, Munib. Did you want to give a brief introduction to the listeners?
Sure. Uh, Investin is essentially provides you decentralized hedge funds. So, the like essentially people can join in a journey of a fund manager in completely non-custodial way. You can withdraw your capital at any point of time. Uh, Currently, before we were on, Binance Smart Chain. It's just an experimental version launched on Binance Smart Chain, and recently we completely migrated over to Solana. Yeah, and we
Cool.
just launched our new UI too. Like previous UI was not that good, so I think some of the austerity was saying that some of the people checked out our funds too. So yeah.
Yeah. So maybe before we get into the details on the product, you can tell us a bit about the investing team, like how big you are, who is on um, what roles,
Sure.
and then tell us about. I think it's really interesting. When we're big fans of Solana here on Whalepool, and it's always interesting to hear what went into the decision making of switching from one chain over to Solana. So yeah, if you could just give us a bit more detail there.
Sure. So we are a team of 5 people. So a couple of us work on the Web3 and UI side. I personally work on the Rust side. So I'm the Rust developer. And then some of one more guy. I think Zoeb. Are you on call, Zoeb? I think he wanted to join too.
If he's on, by all means, let me give him the access. What's his name on
Zoeb.
TeamSpeak?
1 sec. I just messaged him. Probably he can join. I think guest Investin.Pro.
Yes, where's that?
No. That's different. I think he'll join a bit later.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, I'll
yeah.
be
So
happy to give him
sure,
anyone from the team that wants to chat for sure. We'd
sure,
love to
sure,
have him
sure.
on.
So yeah, some of like I work on the Rust side, and two of us work on the Web3 side. We have a designer in our team. So yeah, so first, we were planning to launch on Ethereum, last year. So the idea was incepted, last year. But the cost of launching the protocol was around 10K.
Just to
So
launch the
we just
initial contract, you mean on Ethereum?
yeah, the initial contract, launching the initial contract was around 10K. So so we thought, we'll just deploy it on BSC first, see how it goes from there. Since like we didn't have to change anything, so we went ahead, we launched on BSC, and then we even did an IDO there on BSC with Wall Swap. Afterwards, there was the Solana hackathon, gained a lot of traction. I think it was May. Yeah. And then we went into the hackathon. Uh, we saw a lot of active development going on in Solana. And, we were like everyone, mesmerized by the cost. It was like very cheap. Like on BSC, on even BSC, in order to start a fund, it required around some $50. Yeah, I think it was $50 to start a fund, and Solana it was just pennies. So I think the shift from there was, kind of a no-brainer for us. Very cheap interactions. So we kind of then went ahead. We saw that the BSC traction was kind of fading away, and then it was a collective decision. We made a decision to switch over to Solana. Uh, yeah, and here we are. Currently, we have around three protocols integrated. We have Radium, Orca, and Mango markets integrated. Yeah.
Okay,
And the
so
basic idea, was to provide hedging functionality, in one place. So, like, you can even leverage trade on Mango right now, and in the future, will add farming too.
cool. So, well, you had didn't you have Mango market making farming before? Is that still up or not?
Yeah, sure. So the DeFi hedge fund with Radium, Orca, and Mango, that was the core product. And then, since we already worked on Mango, we were quite familiar with the know-how of how Mango operated. So we thought we'll launch a side product kind of thing where people get the liquidity providing experience of AMMs with uh, where then the market makers can take that liquidity and do market making on clubs. So kind of that bridging experience we wanted to provide. Yeah. So
All
those
right,
market making funds are still live. So yeah,
okay, so but
but I
let's
think yeah,
wait.
yeah,
Let's
go on.
let's rewind for a second, right? Um, so you said you support Radium, Orca, and Mango, which I think everybody here is familiar with. Those, like all of us, are pretty active trading on these things. Do you support Serum directly or only via Radium?
Yeah, we essentially we supported Mango Spot. So that is indirectly Serum too, and then the Radium is also Serum. Not just we don't just support Serum directly right now.
Okay, and let's talk about the technical framework by which you guys are achieving this non-custodial approach. So the main actors that I see here are there's a fund manager, uh, Alice, and she wants to create a fund. And then there are investors like Bob and Charlie that wants to invest in her fund, but we don't want Alice to be a scammer and be able to pull those funds away, right? So,
Yep.
and we also want this to be resistant to Alice, or we want it to be resistant to invest in stealing the funds as well. So, can you tell us a bit about cryptographically on chain how you guys are able to achieve these goals with this kind of non-custodial fund setup?
Sure. Uh, so yeah, essentially, Solana has this. So you want me to go into the implementation specific details or just a high level?
Uh, well, let's do it high level first, but we have some pretty technical people here as well who would appreciate to go into some of the details. But let's start high level about who's owning the keys. What happens if
Got it.
what happens if investing gets all you guys die on the team? People should still be able to get their funds, right? So
Yeah.
first start high level and then zoom in on the details if you could.
Sure, sure. So yeah, regarding the cryptographic setup of Solana, so Solana has this concept of program derived addresses. We call them PDAs. So the PDA, is an address which is programmatically controlled. So the wallet key you have in Phantom, that has a private key stored in the local storage, and you sign using that key. But program derived addresses in Solana don't have a private key associated with that. So the only person who can sign that transaction is the program, the Solana program itself. So for we at Investin, each fund is kind of a program derived address, which has the custody of the assets, and the only way to do a transaction is through the program, actually signing the transaction. So in that way, it's kind of where Investin, first of all, Investin doesn't have any admin privileges in the code. So managers, there's no direct correlation where a manager can just sign and take hold of the funds. So each fund is a PD, and even if you go to invest in, take any fund, get the fund address and go put it on Sonar or Step and see. You should be able to see all the assets which the manager has invested on Step itself, and that is not a normal public key, which has a private key. That is a program address. So there you have it.
So does it? So let me see. Let me play it back to you, and you let me know if it's correct. That this fund is a PDA, which means that the fund manager who starts it is the only one who can actually trade on Radium, Orca, and Mango with the funds in there, and the only ones who can withdraw funds off are the actual investors in the fund, subject to the proportion that they actually contributed at the time that they made the contribution. Is that generally accurate?
Yep. It is programmatically controlled. So the controls are set in a way that the trading is done by the manager, and the deposit and withdraw can only be done by the investor. So yeah, that's the idea in a nutshell.
That's the idea in a nutshell. Hey
Cool.
guys, you can hear me now?
Cool.
Anas here.
Yep.
Yeah, can you put a headset on, Anas, so that feedback doesn't impact listeners? Like earphones or headset would be good. So basically that's high level the way that you achieve it, so that nobody can rug these funds, that they are not even the person that created the fund can rug.
No.
Basically.
Yeah.
What if are you limiting what fund managers can actually invest in? Because I was thinking one way, or actually it wasn't me, it was somebody else when we were playing with this yesterday, was suggesting, what if somebody rugs it by buying some really illiquid assets that they secretly are owning on the other side, and that they're just losing all of the money to themselves? How do you prevent something like that?
Yeah. So we have a concept of whitelisting assets. So if you go and see our implementation, there's a list of assets we allow trading in. We don't allow, like, for example, we don't allow any kind of permissionless pools coming out on Radium. I mean, they're not default tradable by default. So if there's enough liquidity, we go and whitelist the asset, and then it can be traded upon. So yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know if you've heard of these hacks that happened on Binance before, where API keys were compromised, and the way that they actually stole funds was by buying some illiquid shitcoin that they then sold to the hacked accounts at incredibly inflated prices. And this was the mechanism by which they were able to steal. But with the whitelist, it sounds like you're effectively closing that kind of loophole.
Yeah.
Cool. So how does it work in terms of, so it sounds like the high level way that you're controlling the permissions ensures that the investors themselves maintain the custody. But can you tell us how the accounting for this works, where are people only allowed to contribute like USD? Because normally with traditional funds, there's like a home currency, and that all the accounting has to be done in that home currency, because otherwise you're having to deal with, Bob contributed SOL, Charlie contributed USDC, Dave contributed Ray tokens. Do you enforce a fund home currency where all the accounting is done, so that you can properly track like what proportion of the fund that somebody has, and if there's profits, what proportion of the profits do they get? Because there are investors that are investing at different points in time where the fund is worth different values, right? So can you tell us just high level, like how do you handle all of this stuff?
Yeah, so currently we have a base currency, USDC. It simplifies the accounting a lot, and in the future we do plan to have add Sol as well, since that's the base chain currency too. So yeah, currently it's only USDC, and Sol probably very soon. Yeah.
But a fund has to choose whether it's going to be USDC or SOL, right? Or can they choose both?
Uh, so currently it's just USDC, but in the future we can add both USDC and Sol. It can accept both USDC and Sol. The thing in Solana is that once we have proper Oracle functionality, right, where we have like very reliable oracles, I think adding one more asset shouldn't be that much of an issue
All right, but
for the
so
base accounting too. Yeah.
yeah, so tell us how this accounting works, because if you have, Alice has started her fund and you've got multiple investors who are, let's say they're investing USDC. Alice has bought all kinds of coins. She's doing positions on Mango. How do you like account for the fund value in order to track everybody's individual share of the profits? Could you tell us how this
Oh,
works?
yeah, that's a good question. So essentially, we have this. There's a global performance, tracking mechanism, we can say, for a particular fund, and when it's kind of time stamping. It's kind of performance stamping mechanism, I can say. So whenever a person enters a fund, like for example, I deposit into your fund, there's a global performance sticker which is stored in your state. So in Solana, you have the concept of state, right? Concept of accounts, where there's a global account, and per investor you have a specific receipt kind of thing. So I just went and deposited into your fund, so I need some way of acknowledgement, right? That I have, indeed deposited into your fund at this point of time. So we do that in the form of account. So each investor, when you invest in a fund, you get an investor account in return. It's kind of a receipt which says you that yeah, you have invested in that. So that receipt actually has the performance of the fund at the time in which I invested in, and that is always incremental. So since I have the start performance, and then for example, now I have the start performance of some 1.2 or something like that, and then now I'm trying to exit that, and then while exiting, I actually see what's the global performance sticker right now, and we do division of that. So we take the difference of what was the start performance, what was the end performance, and we calculate what uh, was the actual amount owed to you in terms of performance measure. Was that a bit too, or did you get it?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I understand it, but I want to make sure that everybody listening also can probably understand. So let's say that Bob invests 10,000 USDC in
Yeah.
Alice's fund. She does a bunch of trading on Mango, and she makes like 5,000 USDC, and then there's a third person, Charlie, that invests his 5,000 USDC. Like, if they're this mechanism that you're describing is accounting also for like withdrawals that people are making, and that
Yeah.
you don't have some way that later investors can take profits from early investors. And am I
No, no, no.
correct for all these
Yeah.
things?
No, we don't have that. So essentially, if you see most of the funds operating currently, or asset management protocols, they actually have a global pool where the issue shares, according to what where you have invested currently. So we have a different kind of architecture where we first we actually hold assets in a router vault, and then the manager would actually have to come and select the investments and then transfer it to the main pool. So in that way, you actually gate when an investment is diluting the pool, to speak broadly. So, uh, for example, Alice has opened, Alice has deposited into the fund, and the fund manager has opened the trade on Mango, and now someone else has come and deposited into the fund. So that doesn't mean that it has been deposited into the pool and it will get diluted. It will be deposited into a routing area, and as and when the manager seems it seems to the manager that now, okay, I'll have to close the position. He closes the position, and then he can make the investment enter into the pool. So that would save the pool from being diluted too.
Okay. So when new investors come in, they're not automatically part of the fund. The fund manager has to sweep those funds into the actively managed pool, and then it starts the clock for them, so to speak, in terms of piggybacking on the performance, whether it's positive or negative.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Anas, is your setup okay? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. You can hear me, guys? Clearly?
Yeah, Munib, can you mute your transmission so we can hear him? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Anas here. So basically, I say I'm just a founder and like co-developer with Munib and Zoheb on Investin. And it's like Munib have given most of the briefing, I guess. So you can just start with you if you have any questions or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we've been covering so far just the very basic stuff for people to understand the cryptographically how the investors are protected, how the fund manager UX works, and stuff like that. Just if you wanted to add anything on top of what Munib has already kind of introduced. Otherwise, we'll just sort of continue.
Yeah, I'll just say that in the beginning, we started around like in August 2020 or something in the middle of COVID, and I used to trade on BitMEX, and I used to run a fund basically. So at that time, when the number of investors in my fund keep on increasing, we had this trust kind of issue, and at that time, I just having a good coding background just led me to look on to options where I could start my decentralized fund. And at that time, Enzyme was live. So I did check out Enzyme, and Enzyme was a bit nah. So on the way they structure these fund management pools, I don't like the pool mechanism for the fund management system. The thing is, like, I believe the funds should be individual. So if you see the architecture of Investor is pretty unique, you won't find it anywhere else. The way we do it in a simpler terms, I would say, is like whenever an investor deposits, we basically hand out receipts to them. In that receipt, the investor would have the performance and the AUM of the fund. And when the manager accepts the investment, the receipt would say that the fund investment is active, and that and when the withdrawal is done, investor would come again with that receipt, and the fund will check at the time of his investment what his performance was and what was the AUM of the fund, and just deduct accordingly and give him the share of the fund, and that's how the flow goes in a layman's term, I would say.
And yeah, no, that's a helpful overview. So when let's say that the website goes down, how do investors and the fund manager get their funds out? Can they communicate directly on chain in order to get it? So it's not relying on Investin in any way except this UI, which isn't necessary, or what?
Yeah, UI isn't necessary. The thing on the UI is just the performance chart and the way you are interacting. UI isn't necessary part of things because we essentially hand over the fund PDA to the manager and investor account to the investors. So investor is just a UI right now, and all the contracts are there. You don't need any UI to interact. It's just a good way of putting it there.
So do you have like scripts that people, because not everybody, I mean, a lot of people love Solana, but they don't necessarily have the technical knowledge to, in the event of some emergency where the UI is broken, like how could an individual investor actually get their money back?
Yeah. So on this, we did had some talks in our community of making a light version that people can just yarn start on their local hosts and connect to the contracts and interact directly. So we're pretty much working on deploying open sourcing a light version of Investin where you can directly host your own UIs, GUIs, and connect with the contracts on
Yeah,
chain.
cool. Mango does this, and some other projects. I think that's definitely the way to empower users so that they are not dependent on some centrally run hosted website in order to interact.
True.
So let's go back to let's continue the discussion was about the flow. So a investor at the moment in a fund can always redeem their funds no matter what. At the moment there is no redemption locking period like you sometimes see with hedge funds, is there?
No, there isn't.
And so what if how in what scenarios could I, as an investor in somebody's fund, be blocked from pulling the funds out? Like, for example, if you're in a Mango position, there's margin that needs to be used in the position. So presumably, if Alice is in the middle of a bunch of positions that is taking up margin, then investors can't just pull that money out, or can they?
They can, and we work pretty hard on that to make sure that whenever an investor comes on, whenever there is a withdrawal investment for the Mango account, we calculate exact share for that person in that fund and make sure to close exact that amount of position from Mango account to complete the withdrawal.
What if there's not enough liquidity on Mango?
Uh, Liquidity on for the position to close.
Yeah, just hypothetically, if it's like, let's imagine that investing, and I think that's probably your guy's goal, that there are funds worth millions and millions of dollars, right? So what if a big investor in one of these funds does a redemption? It can have like a rug effect on people's funds. Like, what if there's no liquidity?
The thing is, like, we have this set slippage percentage of around 5%. So if it goes up above 5%, the withdrawal will fail, and probably the like the investor can connect with manager to withdraw something like that.
No, I think we have, while opening the position itself, we have a slippage check. So if the market is, insufficiently illiquid, the position wouldn't be open at the first place. So,
But assuming it's already open and there's margin being used, then if they want to take out funds that otherwise would be used in the margin, how does that work?
so I would say that, especially the perp markets, for example, you have deposited some amount of margin and you have opened a ray per position, for example. There's no way, we can give the ray per position back to the fund because that is, working in an isolated environment of Mango. So I would
And
say that, yeah, there's no, direct solution to that. The only thing which we can do currently is to, not support illiquid markets, probably.
can I just add, Muni, we're just forgetting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tell that
sure, sure,
we just allow
sure.
40% of the AUM to be traded on on Mango with a maximum leverage of 2x for those reasons.
Okay, that actually brings a question that um, someone had mentioned as well in the community yesterday about like 2x leverage is kind of restrictive on Mango. Um, yeah, some fund managers want to use like 5x leverage, for example. Uh, is there any plans to like relax this a bit for people?
Yeah, so there's a plan for adding some kind of token economics point of view on this thing to basically the problem is like there is more risk to it, so the fund manager should have some kind of share or some kind of IVN staked so that we can allow more leverage and more AUM of the fund to be traded on Mango. So we're working on that,
Yeah,
and
so
probably
yeah,
with the
sure,
V3
sure.
with the V3, we'll add some kind of staking mechanism for IVN, which will allow you to trade BTC perps up to 10x or something like that. Yeah.
So when you say INV, this is what is it, IVN? Like this is the token that you guys have created around this project.
Yes, IVN.
IVN is what it's called. Okay, and what is the well? Let's get into the token a bit later. But I guess you're suggesting that trading at higher leverage introduces more risk, and that you want to have any fund managers trading at such high risk to have more of a stake in what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, because I think the way that you've set it up, where investors in the funds are always able to pull out their investment. So that means that if going back to Alice's fund, if someone invests 10,000 USDC into it, she sweeps it into the pool, and she buys a bunch of coins. And if he does a withdrawal, he doesn't get USDC back. He'll get a bunch of tokens. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how do you value those tokens? Is it with oracles?
Yeah, we have an aggregator, on-chain aggregator, that is the valuations of all the tokens that we have whitelisted on Investin. So basically, if you see, the withdrawal mechanism is a three-step mechanism that we have. And on the first step, we aggregate the values and calculate the valuation of the positions that the investor would be getting. And the second will probably will withdraw from the Radium part. And then the third will do the Mango part. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, so answering your question about the price, we calculate, the pool price. So if it's Radium, we calculate the Radium pool price, and if it's Orca, we calculate the Orca pool price. Yeah.
And same with
It's
Mango, where Mango would be there's borrows that could be existing on Mango, right? So you have to take into account the whole Mango account value, right?
Yeah, we take into account the whole Mango account. So yeah, the same way Mango does evaluation, we do our own, delegate valuation of the whole Mango account. Yeah.
What about you have to spend 0.2 Sol in order to get a Mango account running, right? So if
Yeah,
the
that
PDA
would.
is the sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I was asking. So if the PDA is the one that has to create the account, do you need to, as a fund manager, add Sol in order to cover these kinds of fees?
So the fees will be, it's like, in Solana, the calling, so the first one in the chain pays the fees. So I would have to call a delegate call to, initialize a Mango account, and then the PDA would do a call to Mango where it, initializes the account. So the fees would be paid by the manager, 0.2. So yeah.
So the manager, because a lot of people that are listening right now, they're excited to start their own fund on Investin, right? So they want to understand what kind of restrictions, what kind of needs they have to have. So they go, and a lot of us already have logged in and created a fund just to play with it, but they should expect that when they create this fund, they need to deposit a bit of Sol to cover these kinds of transactions.
No, sure. You need to have some Sol in your manager wallet. I think the cost of creating a Mango account is around 0.02 Sol. Yes, yeah. So I think 0.03 should be enough for opening the whole account. So Investin accounts usually don't take that much. Yeah, I think total cost should be around 0.03 to 0.04, around that.
Okay, I thought Mango was actually closer to 0.2. It was a bit larger than the Solana or the Serum open orders accounts cost like 0.02. Anyway, so the point is that any of the activity that's trading, whether it's on Radium, Orca, or Mango, they're on-chain fees that need to be covered. So any fund manager needs to make sure they top up a little bit of Sol in their account to cover the stuff.
Yep.
And
since that is
and so
go on.
So how does the manager do the trading itself? Do they log into Radium somehow in their wallet? Do they have to do the trading via the UI? How does the fund manager, now that I've set up my fund, I put in some Sol into it. I set my, I guess there's a minimum performance, and then a performance fee that needs to be set on it. And then once I've done this, how do I do the trading as a fund manager?
Yeah, so if you go to our UI, we have a routing mechanism set up in our program as well, where we route trades through the PDA. Since the PDA is the one who can actually sign the trading transactions, so we have a delegate call kind of stuff where the PDA will go from the user perspective. Yeah, we have that in our UI. So there's a trading terminal. If you go to a UI, there's a trading terminal dedicated to, you can find like trading it on Radium, Beat Swap, or longing perps. Yeah.
So is it only longing perps, or you can short on perps as well?
No, you can short too.
Right. Okay. So basically, as a fund manager on Investin, all of the trading that I do with the money in the and I guess when new investors come in, I have to sweep their investment into like the pool, and then out of that pool, I am trading on Radium, Mango, etc. via the Investin UI. That's my trading terminal, basically.
Yeah, that would be a trading terminal.
Okay. Cool. So so there's let's talk about the token a bit then. How at the moment do you guys have a DAO? What is this IVN token that Anders was mentioning? What do I do with it? How does it work? What's the utility?
The
I
idea
think
of I'll start. So the idea of IVN is basically to make managers earn out of investment protocol. So basically, if you see, we have this 2% fixed management fee, out of which 1% goes to the protocol and 1% to the manager. And on the performance part as well, like if the manager makes some performance fee, the protocol collects around 10% of it. So what we are essentially trying to do here is like make a self-fulfilling loop where as much as managers attract investors and bring volume to invest in, the protocol will be earning from it. And again, will most probably by next month, we'll have the staking contract live where these managers can stake X amount of IVN and collect all the protocol fees that is being collected through their efforts. So basically, a similar model to what Sushi does with their LPs. And probably with that, we'll also add an thing where like we basically when the stake IVN, they'll get some X IVN tokens, which we will use for the governance module because we have a lot of things that needs governance like whitelisting tokens, whitelisting protocols, the way margin should be held, and the way fees parameters should have to be set, all that. So basically what we are trying to do right now is like start the community thing going on and let more users come into invest and fold so that we have a significant number of users coming in, and once they are there we can start the governance module and the fee sharing module of the IVN token.
And are you guys going to use the SPL governance contract to manage your DAO there?
I haven't thought about it, but still thinking on how to go about that because the governance on IVN, like an Investin, is pretty wide. I would say like there's a lot of things that we can have look on, and managers are basically the thing is like IVN is just directed to the fund managers, not any user. I just wanted to make sure that the value of the token is given to the users of the protocol only. And on the investor side, we'll also add some stuff. We'll go on that later. Yeah.
So you're gonna home roll your own governance instead of using the existing, like Serum and Mango are using SPL governance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think SPL governance is I think it's becoming the standard. So I think it should be good to go. There's nothing on that, and the flow of our protocol, the governance flow would be similar to Mango itself. So there's no reason not to use that module.
And what is your philosophy as a team on open sourcing your protocol that you have made? Do you guys feel like it should stay closed source, or do you think you should be open sourcing it in general?
So definitely not. Yeah, we do plan on open sourcing the code. Just that we haven't been able to get our hands on any auditors in the space, so we're kind of worried on that part. We just wanted to get a clear security audit done before open sourcing that. We have already got it reviewed by some of the main people, but yeah, I think uh, the open sourcing part is definitely on our roadmap.
Yeah. So when you
And
when
we
you
Yep.
well, when you tell us that the PDA has this permission and fund managers can do this and the investors can do that, how can we verify this if you don't open source it? Are we able to see on chain that all of these permissions are really what you say they are?
So since the PDs are programmatically controlled, uh, there's no current way of verifying it on the UI or on chain. But yeah, I think open sourcing it is the best way we can go. And yeah, we do plan on open sourcing that. I think a month
Like,
is
I just
our
want to say,
deadline.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, there were two reasons why we didn't open source from the start. The first reason was like it was pretty hard to get into the Solana ecosystem, like to get recognition from people. Like there is a protocol which is working on allowing any trader to become a fund manager. So there was this angle where it was pretty hard to get a foothold into the ecosystem because you see we are not backed by any VC or something. So we didn't wanted our code to be forked and get ahead because we essentially had this fear of being forked first, and the second was the audit part. So the first angle, what I would say is like we are still trying to get a good foothold in the community and the traders in the Solana ecosystem so that we have this good holding, and the second part is audit as well. So that is one of the two reasons that we didn't open source.
Yeah, but I guess my main concern here that I'm expressing is that one of the value propositions you're providing is that this is non-custodial, that investors in the funds that are created are can basically rest easy that they're the ones that have access to the money in terms of withdrawing, and only their fund manager can actually do the
Trading.
the trading. Yeah. So the question is, if it's not open source, do we have to trust you that this is really the case? How can we verify this?
Yeah, you have your point there, and I totally agree with your concerns. So, and we are trying our best to get on with the auditing part as soon as possible so that we can open source the stuff and attract more guys like you who love to interact with open source protocols. So that is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just so it's not even like for the people that are necessarily going to dig into the code or anything like that, but it's just that if it's really verifying and not trusting, then there needs to be some mechanism really where people, I mean, sure, when they're using it, they'll notice that the fund manager can't withdraw the funds and Investin cannot withdraw the funds. There's no authority, administrative key or whatever, but it's just so much better if you put it on the Anchor registry, for example, and everybody can verify that the code that is uploaded there is exactly what's on chain, and we can see ourselves that it really is the way that you are describing. So, but yeah, okay, I won't belabor the point, but it sounds like you guys do have plans to address this so that it is verifiable.
Definitely,
okay.
yeah. We do have plans. Yeah. Once we open source the code, then I think verifying with Anchor is should be pretty easy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I just want to summarize the UX here for everybody listening. Then, when you start a fund, you need to put some kind of a bit of soul in the manager wallet in order to cover the various transaction fees for the trading. When an investor invests in the fund, then it actually is a 2% fee that the investor pays, where 1% goes to invest in and 1% goes to the manager from the very beginning. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
when the investment is accepted, like when he sweeps into his vault that time.
right,
Not before that.
and I mean that's a pretty hefty fee up front for someone to invest 2%. But it's understandable that the now when the fund manager creates the fund, what are the parameters that they set in terms of performance fee, and like how does that work?
Yeah. So basically, when you go onto the UX and you have to put in your fund name and let me just go on to the UI. Just for that. Yeah. So fund name and set a performance fee and a minimum return percentage. So this thing is pretty different, the way we handle performance. So basically, in order to collect your performance fee, manager have to go above the minimum percentage that he sets. So if you, for example, we have set around 10% minimum returns. So until unless the fund for each investor, if you haven't performed that minimum return percentage, you won't be able to collect the performance fee for that particular investment. So you have to make sure you are basically, as a manager, you're promising that until unless you give this X amount of returns, you won't be able to collect your X amount of performance fee on that returns.
So on each investment that each investor makes?
Yeah, on each investment.
So so let's say you set the minimum to 10%, then you have a performance fee percentage. Let's say you set it to 30%. That means that for a given investment that investor has made, that amount of like the returns from that point need to be at least 10%. Once that 10% is hit, then you can take basically 3%, which is 30% of that 10%. You can take that as a performance that the fund manager can take that themselves.
Yes.
And then the investor themselves will be able to pull out the additional 7% from that performance gain.
Yes. So basically, right now the thing is like the performance fee is not dynamic until unless the investor locks in the like the investor doesn't the withdraw. You won't be able to collect the performance fee. Like the investor have to withdraw it above the minimum return so that you would be able to collect the performance fee. So we are currently working on the feature to allow managers to collect the performance fee dynamically as soon as the investor hits the minimum return. The fund manager would be able to collect the dynamic fee. And while we were working on this, we sort of get understood that this sort of thing basically is like investor won't be able to if the manager sets at 10% and like he quickly gets his minimum return up and he can collect the performance fee. And for those reasons, we also are working on allowing investors to put a certain limit of stop loss on their take profit or stop loss on their investments as well. So basically, fund managers and investors, both of them can trade against themselves or something like that, for or against themselves. So this is a pretty unique mechanism. Yeah.
Wait, how does that work? So the investor can force the fund manager to have limited risk by setting their own stops?
Yeah, so yeah, we are working on this. It's still in beta, testing it out. So what we are trying to do here is like investor, when they invest in any of the funds, they can either set a take profit limit or a stop loss on their investment.
And that would work across the different protocols, Radium, Orca, and Mango. You'll be able to set it so that they'll get out of various tokens that they may have bought, or spot positions or perpetual positions that it'll execute the trade for that portion of the investor's investment.
Yeah, it basically is a liquidation kind of thing for investor. Like they can set that I want to liquidate my account from this fund when I reach X%.
Oh, so okay, so they're not the ones actually doing the trade for the fund manager. They're just withdrawing once it gets to a certain point.
Yeah, we'll run a liquidator bot on it and also open source that as well for users to get.
I was thinking, as a fund manager, that would be annoying if some guy who invests in my fund, he's because most of the people listening right now, some of them might be interested to invest in funds, but many want to actually create their own funds. And you got to think of the UX of that fund manager as well. So it would be really annoying if they are like controlling my decisions as a fund manager, right?
No, your positions will be the same across the board. Only the size of the position would reduce when investor withdraws, right?
Yeah.
So it so it won't be annoying in that sense because the money wasn't the traders at first. So
So the ratio of the assets, the composition of your fund won't change. It's just it would just be dialed down by the amount of investor ratio in the fund. That's all.
dollar evaluation of the fund.
Yeah, and so the fund manager won't actually be able to get their performance fee until the investors realized and pulled out their funds. Is that correct?
No, so as I was telling you, right now the model is like until unless the investor withdraws above the minimum return, manager won't be able to collect the performance fee.
Yeah.
But once we add the dynamic performance fee mechanism to Investin, which basically allows fund managers to dynamically collect performance fee on without investor withdrawing from the fund, we'll also add this feature for investors on this side where they can dynamically set at what point they want to come out of the fund as well. So basically giving both the users the best way to get their positions out.
Okay, cool. And so in the trading terminal that you guys have for the fund manager, they can basically do the radium swap, the orca swap, and then they can do all of the trading in Mango. Is the full functionality on Mango reflected in the trading terminal? Like, could they, for example, just add funds into the Mango account and start to earn interest in the Mango account?
No. So basically, right now, the version that we are running is Mango V2, and the way we handle is pretty different. Basically, each instruction just opens your position on Mango. Like if you check out the terminal right now, if you have like first of all, we'll allow only 40% of AUM to be traded on Mango. So you can see that the 40% of your USDC will be available, and this basically just allows you to open a direct long position on Mango and close it, just like swap kind of mechanism. We don't allow the funds to stay on Mango. It just swaps, just like swap mechanism. Like you open a long position, you close. As soon as you close the long position, the money would get into your wallet back. So that's how we do.
No, we kind of packaging a position completely, like deposit, open position, and settle happens in the same transaction currently. It was just to simplify the withdrawal logic on the investor side as well. So
Okay.
since this was Mango V2 and it was Serum, so there were a lot of instructions which had to be, a lot of accounts which had to be called in order for to withdraw, and the
So
compute budget too.
yeah,
So in V3 we have the full suite. So V3 Mango V3 would be released, in the next week, along with the full suite of features which are there on V3 because the compute budget is low and the account size is low too. So
okay. So
yeah.
so for everybody that's listening, Mango V2, the existing functionality, doesn't have perpetuals. So you guys at the moment are not supporting all of the different, and Mango has listed a lot of great perpetual contracts right now. And you're saying that because you don't support V3 on Mango, you don't actually allow for fund managers to do the perpetual trading just yet.
Yes. The idea was to just understand first, like V3 was pretty new at that time. We were just trying to work it out because there was a lot of new things with V3.
No,
So we
the
took our time
market
to
making.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the market making part for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So market making funds are already on V3. So we just need to transpose that into our main DeFi hedge funds, and then you'll have the main funds integrated with V3. I think that's we are planning to release it next week. That's almost done.
yeah, that we definitely need. Like a lot of the people here that have been investigating starting a fund this way. We're a lot of us are derivatives traders, so we need the ability to trade all of those Mango V3 products, which includes perpetuals, not just spot leverage, but being able to actually trade 5-10x leverage on Mango V3 using, like, there's Cardano perpetuals that people can short. There's Solana perpetuals. That's the kind of fund management a lot of people here are interested in. Not the spot stuff on Radium and Orca is not as sexy. People want to get those big gains with leveraged derivatives, right?
Yeah. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
you can pretty much do those stuff with the market making funds as well, but we will add this to our suite of this DeFi hedge fund as well.
So is this available?
So
Wait, is this available now or not?
No, it isn't.
Okay, that's so. In the next week, it will be released such that people can do not just the mango farming in the market making, but they'll be able to do the derivatives trading.
Yeah.
Cool. And then when that V3 is supported, will it still be everything wrapped into one function, or will people be able to say sweep USDC on Mango and start earning Mango USDC interest while they're waiting to do a trade?
Yeah, they would be essentially they would be able to lend and borrow and open positions on perps, but we're working on trying to budget it out into invest. Like, there is limitations of compute and the way accounts are handled to make sure the uh, withdrawals are non-custodial. Like, if you are an investor and you want your money right now, you should get your money. So they're trying to package it as efficient as possible so that withdrawals are handled correctly. So yeah.
yeah, so there will be some restrictions as in, since like there are a lot of assets which you can deposit on Mango, but at a time, you can deposit only a few assets, like 3 or 4 assets, in order to, make the investor withdraw non-custodial. So we always have this kind of trade-off between, investor and manager. So yeah, we just have to balance those two things. And
Okay.
even we'll have some limit on the number of per positions which are active at one particular point of time. So
Okay.
about the leverage part, I just wanted to ask you guys, like, what's the fund composition you're thinking of? Like, will all the money in the fund be on perp and with 5x leverage, because that is a high risk position for any investor. uh,
Yeah,
so
but
we
that's
just
what the
wanted to
gains are.
know.
High risk, high reward. And that's, I think a lot of people want to basically utilize the leverage that Mango Perps offer such that, the fund managers can take some decent high leverage positions and get some nice returns for the investors.
Sure. So yeah, just that the investors wouldn't. Yeah, the risk appetite probably differs quite a bit, and
But that's on the
uh,
due diligence
on
that
the
the investors have to make.
sure,
That's up
sure,
to them.
sure, yeah. So currently we have a 40% limit. We are thinking of removing that limit completely so that the whole AUM can go into Mango.
Yeah, I think that would be
Yeah.
ideal. I mean, it's in the end, it's up to, or maybe that could be flexible for each fund. They can say only this much can go into Mango or whatever. But it's really up to the fund manager to disclose what their strategies are going to be, and it's up to the investors to control it however they need to. Like they're the ones who take the risk, and they can withdraw it if they want. If they don't want to be involved, and they can see all the trading activity of
Yeah,
the fund
that's the
manager, right? It's all transparent to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can, if you go on the fund details page, you can actually see what assets the manager is invested in, what's the composition of the fund, even the trade history, at what point of time a manager took the trade. Everything is transparent. So yeah.
Yeah. So if they don't like what they're seeing, they can just withdraw if they want. They
Sure,
don't
and
argue.
that's a good idea where you can actually set a risk appetite. A manager can actually set a risk appetite, and the investors, we can probably give a score or something like that, where a fund which is invested completely in Mango with a high leverage is given a higher risk score, probably something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you on your UI, you guys have a like all the funds that people have created are available there, right? So people can monitor the performance. They can choose to invest in other funds based on historical performance, which for everybody listening is not always an indicator of future performance. But it's all available. Like people can track all the performance, and they can copy and jump into people's funds as they wish.
And they can even also connect with their fund managers, because we also allow them to like add their Twitter, Discord to their profiles and Telegram as well.
Right. Okay. So as a fund manager, you can add Twitter, you add a Telegram, and then they can communicate separately in this fashion. That sounds reasonable. Okay. Is anybody Munib? Your thing is loud. If you wanna, yeah. So if anybody else listening wants, I know a few of you have been playing with it. I don't really have any other questions that were really pressing on this. But if anybody listening, you guys should all have microphone access. So if you want to ask Anas and Monib, the guys playing Investin, what any questions you have about what it means to run a fund on Investin or to invest in a fund. Anybody have any questions that haven't already been asked? I think the list that we made of questions, I think we've covered everything. But sorry, there's one question that wasn't covered. A private fund, like could you set? Is it possible as a fund manager to set up a fund where only certain people are allowed to invest, and that you're not actually allowing anybody to invest?
Yeah, so we have this feature called selective investment, where basically before accepting the investment, you would be able to see from which address you're getting the investment from. You will have this toolbox on UI where you can see all the addresses that want to invest in your fund, and you can just select that particular address and accept investment from that. And this basically covers if any fund manager wants to go through the KYC AML part as well, they can basically connect with their investors and have their thing done, and get their address from them. And once they invest in their fund, they can just accept investment from that particular investor as well. So we have this feature covered.
So basically, if there are fund managers in certain jurisdictions, they need to follow some kind of processes. They can choose to select only those from certain addresses and do whatever KYC, AML due diligence on that address before they can actually invest in the fund.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. Cool. Anybody else out there that has any questions? Did you guys on? Oh, Wolf has a question. Go ahead, Wolf. Oh, from YouTube, there's somebody asking, what about DAO funds and NFT community funds?
Yeah. So yeah.
Good.
So this is like one of the like awesome ideas from one of our committee members in Discord, that how about we basically wanted to have one of the biggest trading competition on Solana to be start one of the biggest trading competition Solana with the launch of new UI. So we were discussing with the guys in the Discord, and like one of the guys from Monkey DAO, Monkey DAO, Roman DAO came us, and they were like, these guys have these Discords, and they basically in their DAOs they discuss about trading and how to have the edge in the markets. So these guys just came to us, and they were like, what if we have this sort of competition between all these NFT communities for the tag of having the best trading and the whole blockchain stuff right now. Like we have all the things are done on chain, right? The trading and the accounting stuff. So basically, what we'll do is like we'll allow the particular NFT communities to start their funds, and each fund, only the one who holds that particular NFT could invest into that fund. And these guys can set up their own Discords and have their trading strategies laid out and play it against themselves, and the best NFT community who trades in that period with the best performance can have this sort of badge that they perform well in markets, and it was all on chain, done by themselves, and they can have this NFT tag to them, and on that what they can do is like, being a community, they can start accepting investments from anyone, and they can start sort of revenue generation point for their own community by trading good for their investors as well. So this is something
Yeah,
that
it's
we are.
it's just something which our members suggested, and it's good to have since most of the NFT communities, I think Monkey DAO is particularly more involved in collective trading, social trading kind of thing. So we just wanted to fill that gap too, and just something to do with NFT communities.
Yeah, and on the DAO fund parts, we are probably like thinking on how to go about it, like because there is a lot of protocols that have good amount of treasury in their uh, like in their wallets and all that. So we are working on a good model to come up with where, like, if you invest into the fund, you'll have a voting share according to your investment in that fund, and the trades would happen basically depending on the one who proposes to take a trade, and like if the proposal goes on and if the fund trades according to the proposal, all the one who proposed for that trade won't be able to withdraw until the trade is closed. And basically, the idea of DAO funds is something based on voting according to their fund share.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question is about privacy. So a lot of these features that we've been talking about are leveraging the transparency of your system, right? So everything's on chain, so investors can easily be tracking the behavior of the fund manager of the fund they've invested in, which is great. And but what about the people that are trying to get some privacy on this? Like, if we were talking about traditional finance and a hedge fund, they don't necessarily want every trade that they are doing to be broadcast to everybody. So how do you guys think about this kind of issue where there are fund managers that want a bit of privacy?
Like, I personally believe that the thing is, like, until unless you have taken a position and you don't share the position, there is no money to be made on it, because like people won't know about the alpha that you're carrying, like this thing. But I was once going through the Solana Discord, and I saw they were working on something for ZK as well, which kind of shields the transactions for a certain time. So there is an upgrade coming to Solana, but I don't know what timeline to it there is to it, but there is something coming on Solana, and we can probably leverage that to shield the transactions for some time on the blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one area where maybe Solana at the moment is not the best, but there are, as you say, some privacy solutions that are in the pipeline that I'm pretty excited about, which I won't talk about at the moment. But yeah, that's I guess at the moment it's kind of all got to be transparent. There's no way around it.
Yeah, you gotta be. The thing is, like, being on chain and performing well. Like, if you are a good trader, I don't know why you want to hide your alpha. Like, why you want to like don't share your performance and get more capital in a transparent manner, because that's what we on blockchain stand for, right?
Yeah, it's. I think the concern expressed by the person asking the question is just the immediate, real-time revealing of positions that are being taken. That could be something that they're not very interested in.
True, there are some guys. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions, either on YouTube or in TeamSpeak for the Investin guys? Are for Anderson, the Munib, was there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted people to be aware of in the project?
Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to tell you that the way I see the DeFi thing going on blockchains is like, if we see, there are a lot of financial services that work behind the scene and we never know their names, but they handle billions and billions of dollars. So what I believe right now is like, as we move on with the DeFi revolution, what will happen is like the way Serum works, right? There is right now the way Serum did is like they are just handling the contract mechanism, and they're not caring about the UI of their project. So what will happen is like, as we move on, all the projects, the main DeFi projects, be it Mango, be it Saber, be it Synthetify, all these guys will run behind the scene, and we will need a dashboard to interact with them, because there is this thing that the guys at the project have to make sure the stuff works well, the cranks run well. So I believe Investin would be the dashboard for DeFi, was sort of working on to make Investin the dashboard to DeFi and integrate all of the protocols behind the scene. And basically, not only on the fund management side, what we are also going to allow is like, you can basically pause your fund, like stop your fund and just use your own capital and access these protocols through one UI and have the performance well laid for you, the trade history well laid for you, instead of hopping on 3 to 4 UIs and connecting your wallet and having this issue of bookmarking all the protocols. We can just have one dashboard where it's pretty neat and it's just built for traders. So sort of working on that angle right now.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And so someone else is asking about, are you going to let fund managers create tokens that don't need to be whitelisted, or will there always be a whitelist that you want to enforce to avoid the attack vector that we talked about before, where somebody can use a permissionless pool and then basically steal all the money by buying some token that they created and made a Radium pool for and transfer the funds to themselves?
Yeah, the thing is like the whitelist mechanism doesn't do that. It also helps us in accounting as well. Like we have to make sure that we get the right price from the oracle for that token as well. So it's there.
Yeah. So basically, to the person asking the question, the whitelist is important because accounting is everything when it comes to running a fund. You have to be able to track the performance in an accurate way and make sure that each of the investors are getting their right share. So everything has to be valued properly in USDC or whatever the accounting currency is. So if you're just doing permissionless pools, it's quite difficult for them to do the fund accounting. And so it sounds like that the whitelist has to kind of stay because of that. Cool. Was there any other final things? I think this is a great product that you guys put together. We're really excited for the Mango V3 because on V2 there's not only so much that you can do. Mango V3 has all the perps. That's really interesting for people. Are you guys integrating? What other plans do you have for other protocols on Solana that you like, options trading maybe and other kinds of products?
Yeah. So the thing is like, for options trading protocol, we do have. I was sort of playing around with the structured vault mechanisms where fund managers will basically put some money into these vaults, and these vaults will do the market making on, like, selling puts and doing on options market. But the thing is like, there is not much profitability right now to it than just having straight out lending and farming right now on Solana. So yeah, basically looking into it, but having a good eye onto it. And on the integrations part, I would say we are the next thing that we.
That was the next thing.
Farming.
Yeah, I think you got disconnected there. Yeah, so to complete the suite of products which we offer, spot buying, leverage, perps, and farming is the next thing in our pipeline currently. Yeah, stablecoin farms seem like a good avenue to start with, and then we could probably extend it to other farms as well.
Yeah, farming is definitely one of the more attractive things, but again, there's the perps on V3, but also some options protocols that you can make a ton of money taking punts on options, right? And so that's a great investment strategy that a lot of fund managers might want to take.
Yeah, we were kind of thinking of packaging it into structured vaults. So a depositing capital into a vault, and then the from the vault it can be taken out, like kind of delegating that stuff to another, you know, into a structured way probably, since managing it would become increasingly complex as the protocols are added. So we were kind of thinking of going in that way.
The angle here is like this was the V1 version right now. What we need to do is like when we launch our V2 version, basically have all these protocols integrated, and when the fund manager starts his fund, he would be able to select which protocols he would want to have into his fund, so that we can go around with the limitation we have on with the compute limit and the count limitation that we have on Solana right now. If we integrate options like Zeta markets, the withdrawal mechanism will get way more complex with all the things we have right now. So basically, allow the fund manager to checklist the protocols they want to add to their fund and go from there. Basically,
Yeah, that
we'll
would
do it.
be that would be cool, because I feel the Zeta team is going to be coming out, and if somebody wants to, a really keen options trader wants to provide this, then why shouldn't they be able to say, okay, I want to do an options fund where I only do Zeta, and then accounting wise you can track it more easily.
Yeah, the withdrawal would be also very easy. Yeah, that's the idea behind that.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think we've been chatting for quite a while. I want to respect your time and let you guys get back to building. Any other final points to make? I don't think there's any more questions remaining from people.
So I think that wraps it up. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Munib and Anas, for joining, and we're looking forward to seeing the continued releases you're going to have on this, I think. So really appreciate you guys building something that's going to be quite useful. Oh, well, sorry, one final thing. Your Solrise is one of your competitors, right? Like, what is the main benefit to using Investin versus Solrise?
Yeah. So essentially, since like if you have seen, so we were the first one to launch first thing, and then we have a lot more integrations than them. They only currently have I think just Serum integrated, and then our architecture is quite complex and quite one of a kind. Yeah. I mean, I think Solrise again uses a pool mechanism, which was a generic one, and we have a lot of functionality to offer.
Cool. Okay, yeah, that was just one final question that someone had,
Sure.
I wanted to slink that in. All right, guys, thanks very much for your time, and we're looking forward to what you're continuing to build, and maybe we'll have you on again sometime next year for a follow-up to see how things are going.
Sure. Thanks for having us here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Same here.
Thanks a lot, guys.